You are now listening to the Hunter's Advantage podcast. We preserve the history and sport of hunting through curious conversation and action-packed hunts, as well as offering you tips and strategy for more successful hunts. The Hunter's Advantage podcast is powered by Out on a Limb Manufacturing. Out on a Limb is a family-owned company based right here in Oklahoma that makes tree stands, saddle platforms, climbing sticks, and so much more.
Christian, I have a quick question.
What's that?
What bites down harder, a hippo or an alligator?
No idea.
It's a trick question. The Ridge Runner 2.0 bites harder than both of them. But all jokes aside, we use these products all across the land on public or private. These help us get into any tree we want and hunt where the deer actually are.
Most men go to the grocery store for their meat, but these products help you go to God's grocery store. I have used the Out on a Limb Ridge Runner 2.0 and the Shakar sticks for the last few years hunting public land bucks, and I've actually shot several bucks out of this setup. If you want to support the podcast and get some Out on a Limb equipment, make sure to go to outonalimbmfg.com and use code HNTA10 for 10% off at checkout. Once again, if you want to support the podcast, go to outonalimbmfg.com and use code HNTA10 at checkout for 10% off. Now let's get back to the podcast. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Hunter's Advantage podcast. Today I'm joined by a guest, not a special guest, but a guest. Gabe Foley. What's up, dude?
How's it going, Christian? Thank you for having me back. Long
Good.
time no see.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in like 4 days or something.
I know.
Right?
Long time. Very long.
I like that new hat you got on, though.
I know, dude. It kind of fits me pretty well, actually. Pretty well.
I didn't know you were a rope hat guy, but
that deer kind of looks familiar, doesn't it?
I've seen that. Yeah, I've seen that deer a time or two.
Yeah.
Yeah. How was so? I alluded to it in the last podcast episode that we put out on Friday, but Gabe and I just went on a muley / whitetail mission out in Nebraska. We got to spend, I think, 6 days out in Nebraska, and it was really fun. Gabe's first out-of-state hunt at all. Flew to Texas, drove all the way to Nebraska. What were you? How was your trip to Texas? Let's start there.
It was crazy. It was pretty sweet. Well, to Texas, I'm never moving there. That's the worst state ever. I don't know how any of you live there. I mean, 105 degrees. Like, you can't even roll the windows down and feel good. It's absolutely miserable. Like, I'm not even lying. I was sweating the whole time. Like, I feel like everybody just smells there, to be quite honest. But like, I don't know. Ohio to Texas, that was crazy. But Texas to Nebraska, that was really nice because me and Christian actually were not expecting it. But it was actually really cool. I feel like it felt really good that week. Oh yeah.
Well, we had planned on doing this. Gabe got a tag. I bought a tag. Nebraska switched this year. I guess they had one of the lowest harvests in recorded history last year. So they started limiting the amount of non-resident tags to like 3,000. So we got on, bought one over the counter. What's cool about Nebraska is they do have whitetail and muley together. So you buy that one deer tag and it's kind of good for either one of them. So that was kind of sweet. The plan was to go out, Gabe to film me, for me to shoot a mule deer, and then us switch and me film him. The plan did not go according to plan, but let's briefly talk a little bit about the trip. So we typically do these hunt talk episodes where we go on hunts, then we come back and we kind of just do it like real and raw format. We just talk exactly what happened on the hunt chronologically and talk about lessons learned, that sort of stuff, things we do different. So if you guys are familiar with hunt talk episodes, that's what this one is going to be, and we've done many of those in the past. So I think it's hunt talk episode 20 is what this one actually be. But so we headed to Nebraska from Texas, woke up on that Sunday, shot bows for a little bit in the 105 degree heat. You quickly probably saw why people don't like shooting their bow in summer.
Yes.
Yeah. So I think we left here about noon.
Yeah.
Got some canes.
Absolutely. That was good. That was good.
And then we drove to Nebraska. I think it was like a 15-hour drive, something like that. Got into Nebraska 2 a.m.
Yeah, it was late.
Super late. Well, I taught Gabe so I've got some tricks of the trade on the travel hunting stuff. So I know how to sleep and where to sleep. So we pulled up into this nice gas station. You don't do a sketchy one, you do a nice one. Pulled up in this nice gas station to get at least a few hours of sleep because we drove all that straight I was wore out. I'm sure you were wore out too. And then we laid down, and then immediately we had 2 goobers.
I forgot about this. Yeah.
Yeah, you were the one that was awake.
Yeah.
What happened?
So basically, we just had these 2 guys from, like Christian said, like 2 a.m. all the way till when did we wake up? Like 6, 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Yeah. And these dudes were in the same exact spot. I mean, all night they were talking, laughing, just being absolutely obnoxious. I mean, I didn't fall asleep. I don't know how Christian did, but I mean, he woke up a couple times throughout the night. I was like, what is that noise? And it was just the people behind us just talking. And then eventually I like stared at them when sun came up. And as soon as they saw me, they moved. But for 4 hours, they were just sitting there doing nothing except being
talking.
loud. Yeah, talking. It was pretty frustrating.
Yeah, they were just sitting there talking it up, doing their thing. So typically what happens is like when I make that drive, like I'm not hunting that next morning. I usually like try to at least get some sleep, because if you start out the trip tired, you end up like coasting through the trip tired the entire time. Yeah. But we went in, got some water, got some like snacks and stuff. And Gabe, you ran into somebody that had been hunting for a while. And what did he tell you?
Oh yeah, so dude in the sick camo. So I was like, "Oh, you're one of me."
So he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "He's probably already shot one. What am I doing?" So I walk up to him and I was like, "What's up, man? You know, you mule deer hunting?" He was like, "Yeah, I am." And I was like, "Public land?" He was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Yeah, you know, seen anything? Any luck?" And he was like, "Actually, yesterday we got really, really close to a buck. We put on the stalk, but didn't get it done. But we're going back out today I don't know why he wasn't out already, but he was at the gas station and he said that he was on one the night before. He was with a buddy. They had some antelope tags and they said they've been seeing deer, a lot of deer. They're hard to find, hard to get on them. And they've been seeing a ton of people out. So that was kind of the odds we were dealing with, but he did say that he's been seeing deer. So that kind of gave us hope, honestly. So we were very excited to get on the road after that.
Yeah, we pulled into the public. And then I bought a pair of like 15 power Vortex binos, which were, I like went to Academy and Bass Pro, tried out spotting scopes. I could not get used to looking through one eye like a pirate looking at stuff. So I just got a pair of like really, really high power binos with the Vortex and a tripod, which ended up being pretty sweet. But we we drove in and we saw 5 or 6 trucks driving to the first spot. And we probably got half a mile in there, got on a really good glass and knob. The plan was to just glass up one of these muleys, obviously get the wind right and try to put a stock on them, whether that was going to work or not. That was just at least the plan. We get to the first spot and what was it, like 300 yards away? We saw some people.
Yeah, honestly, it wasn't far at all. Are you talking about when they were going up top?
Yeah.
Yeah, but 300 yards and we had just got in, not even a mile yet, and sat down at the first spot.
Yeah, we saw those dudes. So we tried to do this big J hook, went on the other side of the ridge, went to the next ridge system, glassed for a while. I'll tell you what, I had a lot of fun just sitting up on the knobs and glassing. I thought it was really cool to like try to pick out one in the shadows or pick out one moving. But that area had been affected by burn for not 1 year, but a couple years in a row. And it was pretty desolate as far as like cover goes. I mean, ton of cattle on this place. It had been burnt. I feel like any of the new growth that would have been there for deer to really munch on was kind of trudged down by the cows. And we spent most of the day that day, probably 7 hours glassing out there. Yeah. And didn't see much but a cow.
Yeah, unfortunately. There was a ton of cows, like absolutely a ton. And I hate cows personally. They freak me out.
Yeah, why are you so scared of cows?
All right, well, I think of it this way. If one of those things come charging at you, like that's 800 pounds versus 130, it's not going to go well. Like he's going to absolutely turn me into a pancake. So I would have shot it for sure. I'm sorry, but
fresh beef.
Exactly. I mean, here, look at it this way, though. Like we were not starving if we had no food out there. That's for sure.
Dude, there were cows all over the freaking place. Holy moly! Now we tried glassing at that first spot. Didn't do too well there. Didn't see an ounce of life besides a cow. And then we start feeling the thunderstorm come in. I mean, it goes from like you're getting sunburnt. We're out there taking a nap. I remember waking up from the nap out there. There's nothing like taking a nap on the ground. It's really fun. But Amazing. Out there, I was like getting sunburnt, waking up like quenched of thirst. And then I would wake up. And the next time we were on the next ridge glassing, like it would get cool. It was super cool. And the rain, like it would start to get like black. in the sky. And it was like, what, 3-4 p.m.? Like we had planned on glassing this alfalfa field for the rest of the night.
It was not late. I mean, not too late.
And that sucker hit fast. And it was what? A 3-mile walk back to the truck in blistering rain.
Yeah. It was cold rain too, mind you, like very cold rain. And thunderstorms, lightning, wind, the whole shebang, the whole Hurricane Katrina, basically. I mean, it felt like that in Nebraska.
I've never been that wet in my life.
Yeah, no. Oh, and yeah, mind you guys, we were planning on staying in the truck. Not getting wet because, it's supposed to be like, I don't know, 70, 80, 90 degrees that whole week. No wind, nothing. And then first day of the trip, boots, backpack, clothes, bow, everything soaked, literally everything. So that was fantastic.
I had my really nice rain gear that I bought several years ago that I never use, of course, in the freaking truck, and it only weighs like 1.5 pounds, 2 pounds. So this is that's one of the lessons I learned immediately was always bring your rain gear.
Yeah.
Always. It would have been such a better walk on the way back. Got soaked to the bones, went back, ate some Jimmy John's, slept for a little bit, and then we were like, okay, let's go back, try a different area in the morning. So what we did is after we ate, we went back and drove into a new parking area, and we were going to go to a different area of this public. And so we slept there. I slept in the back. I slept with the air mattress. You slept in the front seat and about froze.
Yeah, that was freezing. I don't even know why. That's the thing. Like I said, guys, it was supposed to be 80 degrees this whole week. And then all of a sudden, temps dropped in the night. And it was probably like 50, 60 degrees throughout the night. And I ended up wrapping myself in all of my camo that I brought to keep me warm because Christian had the 4 sleeping bags, 3 pillows, 4 mattress.
There was 1 sleeping bag.
He was comfortable.
It was a good one though. I can tell you, it was a really good sleeping bag.
Yeah.
No. So we woke up that next morning. We went out. Probably got. We were walking in one of those deep cedar cuts that as we were walking in, like way too deep to go up and down on the other side. So we just kind of end up walking on one. We're going to get up to a glassing now. We started finding sign. Like there was hair, there was crap. We found some actual real tracks. We kept thinking we were finding tracks the day before, but could never really confirm if there were or weren't. This time we really found deer sign. We're like, okay, awesome. This is sweet. We went in probably another 1/2 mile, got on a little knob, started glassing. And I was texting back and forth with my buddy Jake Ayers, and he was like, if I were you, we were crazily enough, one of the guys that we parked in a parking lot with actually was a follower on Instagram. And so we started messaging back and forth. And we were talking with this guy. I want to find his name because he might listen to the podcast too. He's from Oklahoma, small world. Yeah, Marcus Sakup or Soukup. He ended up shooting one on private land up there, which was awesome. But Marcus was there, and we started kind of texting back and forth on Instagram, and they were just seeing does, no bucks. And my buddy Jake was like, you know what, you should get on and talk to some of the biologists about area, deer numbers in that area. Called one of them, and they were like, they're out there. It's like, are you sure? They were like, yeah, the numbers are really, really low. I'm like, okay. They're like, a few get killed out on public each year. I'm like, a few? This is a massive state. What do you mean a few mule deer get killed on public every year? And so I talked to one biologist, then I talked to another one. And then what happened on our way back to the truck?
We ran into 4 of them? And the sheep biologist of that zone too? Yeah,
we ran into the sheep biologist for the state. We ran into 3 or 4 other biologists, and we talked to them. And what we had 2 different conversations. You were talking to the girl and the guy and the sheep biologist on one side. I was talking to another guy on the other side. What were they telling you in your conversation?
So I asked them basically if they'd been seeing any deer or anything like that. And then the one guy actually happens to be running trail cameras back there the whole year to keep up with all the deer and just the health and the herd and everything. And he said that he hasn't even got a single picture of a buck on camera the whole year. Not a single one. He was like, a couple miles down the road, I've seen some on private land, on my private land, but over on this public land, absolutely none at all. And then the sheep biologist also said that they haven't been seeing much either at all. And they said that the guys that have been coming there don't see much, and that they also maybe will come out with 1 or 2 a year. And then we didn't even know this at first, but you couldn't even kill a doe on private land, mule deer or public land, mule deer wise. So that goes to show how low the numbers were that year. It was terrible in that zone at least.
Well, and they said the whole state had been struggling, which makes sense. They limited the tag sales. I totally understand that. But what they were saying was it was a combination of a few things on why the mule deer were struggling in Nebraska. It was predation. There had been a lot of fire. I think they said they had harsh winters too. And then they
drought.
said, drought. They said their fawn survival was not good. I know mule deer does actually produce less fawns than whitetail does too. Like they don't really have twins very often.
Lions. Oh, wait, you said that.
Yeah, there was a lot of compounding issues in Nebraska for mule deer, and it being one of the only true over-the-counter mule deer states left, it also gets a ton of human hunting pressure. So there was a lot of things working against, and so one thing I've learned in hunting is there's a time to stay and push through, and there's a time to pivot. And after talking to those folks, and I remember talking to the sheep biologist, and he was like, that one biologist was asking him, he's like, you know any other places that would have any? And he was like, oh, at this other place, I saw like 5 does once. And I'm like, what? Like, what are you talking about? Like, we're talking about thousands and thousands of acres. And they were like, no, I haven't really seen any. And these are guys who live in that area, live it day in and day out. They study the animals. Like, that's their job.
Every day.
We were like, let's head to a different part of the state. So we packed up shop and we were fully prepared to go maybe on a whitetail mission, depending on if we saw whitetail or saw muley. And so it was that morning. So it was morning of day 2, halfway through day 2, we had hunted a day and a half and we were headed back to a different part of the state. What happened from there?
So Christian, do you want me to jump into that?
No. We traveled over, and then we traveled over, and then what happened? We scouted that evening.
Yeah. So we went to this other private spot or public spot, and we scouted it, and we actually got on this like fence row or whatever. Actually, before that, we were driving to that, and we did see our first mule deer in the area, and we thought there was only whitetail, right?
Yeah, didn't think that we'd see any mule deer in this area, and then we
seen a buck right on the side of the road.
There was like a forky. Yeah, mule deer forky. Right there.
And then that gave us a lot of hope. We were like, okay, well, let's go see if there's any mule deer on the public. So then we found this one public spot that your buddy actually found a shed on. So we got some intel on that. And then we glassed that. We walked on the fence row, kind of like on the border of private and public. And we glassed that for the whole evening. And we didn't see much at all, actually, I don't think. Yeah, no, we didn't see anything.
Right before dark, we got back in the truck, and we're like, all right, let's drive around, see if we can see anything. And we saw some white-tailed does on public running into like a cornfield or something like that.
We've seen a couple of those, but those were a couple miles down the road. But that also gave us a little bit of a hope, too, that there was more deer. Because overall, we were seeing way more deer sign and obviously deer.
We hadn't seen a deer the entire day and a half, walking 7-8 miles, blasting all day. And then we drive over to this other spot. We see one on a corner. Then we see some running across on the road, and there's standing corn everywhere. There's deep cedar cuts. And we're like, okay, we can work with this.
Yeah.
I've been using the new Exodus Rival cell camera for the last couple months, and I have found a beautiful mainframe 8-point with tons of stickers to go after this fall.
Ooh.
One thing I do appreciate about Exodus trail cameras is all of the cameras share the same data plan, so you only pay for what you need. A lot of cell cam companies charge you for HD pictures. I've seen prices of $5 for 50 HD pics. Exodus is going to give you unlimited HD pictures right to your phone, which is awesome when you're sitting there in the middle of the summer and it's 100 degrees and you just want to binge a bunch of trail cam photos.
If you're looking for a solid cell camera with great performance and a 5-year no BS warranty, go check them out. So as we all know, hunting gear is something people can make way too complicated. Arrows can be the exact same way. Instead of going down all those rabbit holes, trying to sift through the endless information that's online, and you're not really sure if it's right or wrong, Exodus makes it simple to get the right arrow for your exact setup.
So go online to the Exodus Arrow Builder. It takes less than a minute. You're going to enter your draw weight, your draw length, and how heavy of a point you're shooting. And it's going to be that simple. Let the guys at Exodus take care of the rest.
So if you're interested in Exodus rival cell cameras or a new set of their MMT arrows, just go to exodusoutdoorgear.com and use code HA15 for 15% off anything on the website.
Once again, that is exodusoutdoorgear.com. Use code HA15 at checkout for 15% off. Now let's get back to the podcast. I was like, okay, let's get a hotel. Let's get a hotel this night. At least be able to take a shower because your clothes were wet.
Yep.
My clothes are wet. Boots were wet. You wore your Air Jordans when we went out.
Yeah, I did.
went out to scout the next day. So we're like, all right, let's get a hotel one night. And my plan was to get a hotel one night, get showered. One good night's rest will change your entire trip. But I'm like, all right, let's get a good night's rest and let's go after it in the morning. Well, this is where the trip starts to take a turn for the worst. Yeah. What did we eat the night before?
McDonald's, guys. Do not eat that.
That's what you think. That's what it was.
I think it will think of it this way: small town in the middle of nowhere, McDonald's. What can go wrong? Let's be real. I mean, what we could have ate could have been sitting there for the past 3.5 years. All we could have done. I mean, they probably get all of 12 customers in a month, and we just happen to be that 12th customer.
Yeah. Well, we ate McDonald's, and when you're on the road, you're travel hunting across the United States, you go to some small towns and you eat some sketchy things at a gas stations. Stuff on roller grills that no one should ever eat.
No.
Stuff from small fast food places that people should never eat. So we eat the McDonald's, we go into the hotel, and I get this hotel. Of course, it's like you think a cheap hotel. It's like $85 a night, and it's like a piece of crap 2-star motel.
Bugs in the bed.
We bring all of our crap in because we don't want anything to get stolen. And I'm thinking, okay, we'll wake up about 5. We'll drive out, get up on one of these knobs by these cedar cuts, and we'll just start glassing. That'll be the plan. And what happened was I woke up the next morning at like 6 a.m. and I was like, it felt like I was laying on a meteor. My stomach hurt so it was just. You ever just sit there and your stomach moves?
Yeah,
like it just moves
without doing anything.
Like my stomach was just like rolling me in the bed, moving around, and I was like. Huh. And I remember it was like 7:45 or something like that. I think did you ask me if we were going hunting that morning?
Yeah, I was like, you about ready to go up? Because someone was already up, and I was like, we just seen deer yesterday. Let's go out. Let's see if we can't find any. And he was still in bed. I didn't know why, but I was just going with the flow.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. I mean, it's good that you were just going with the flow. And I woke up. I think you were on the phone.
Yeah.
With Ty or someone?
Yeah, I was talking to Ty.
Okay, you were talking.
He heard all of this.
Did he hear me puking?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So you're on the phone with Ty, and I don't say a word. I get out of bed and I just walk up to the bathroom and puke like 4 times. And I'm like, dude, I am sick as a dog. Sick as a dog. I puke and puke and puke. And at one point, I'll TMI, but since we're 185 episodes into this podcast, these people probably don't care, but I'm going to tell them anyways. I was going number 2 and puking at the same time. And I don't know if anyone's ever felt that feeling, but it's pretty helpless. I puked like 12 times, I counted. And then I wanted to start counting how many times I went to the bathroom, and I went to the bathroom 60 times.
You guys should have heard the sounds.
Oh my gosh, dude. Like sick as a dog. So that day I laid in bed, did absolutely nothing, turned to the AC to 60 degrees, did not a thing, didn't eat, barely drank anything, and basically threw you the keys. And what'd you do on from there?
So the night before, fast forward on our day, we drove past the Public and marked a pin on it or whatever because it looked pretty good or whatever. So I asked Christian as he was in bed, I was like, you think I should maybe go check that spot out? So I did. So I drove out there, And I pulled in the parking lot or whatever. I did some glassing. I didn't see much, but I got there like I think it was getting dark at like 7:30, and I got there at like 6:45 because it was a 40-minute drive to the public. So I got there late, and I glassed, didn't see much or whatever, and I drove around, and I actually seen a lot of deer, and I glassed a easily 150-inch whitetail on private land, and it was a
cut
stud.
alfalfa.
Yeah, so he was feeding on the alfalfa with another small buck, and he was a giant. I got some video of him, absolutely horrible video, but he was running away, and so then I marked a pin on them or whatever, and it was as the crow flies a mile and a half away from the public land that we had glassed, me and Christian, the night before. So I was thinking maybe not in the night or whatever that it would be on that deer would go over there, but I was just thinking that these deer are moving in the area or whatever, so maybe that public land might be pretty good. So about that time or whatever, it was pretty late and it got dark or whatever, so I actually ended up just driving home after I texted Christian that. And then Christian, how were you feeling in the evening when I got back? Because we were thinking he was going to be better too. Because
you usually throw up a few times and you're like, okay, dude, I feel a lot better. I just had something I ate. This was worse. That was not one of those kind of stomach bugs. Like it was one of the ones that lasted multiple days. Like usually you eat something bad, you throw up, you're good. No, my stomach, like I still felt pregnant for like the next 3 or 4 days. And so I was still laying in bed, and you're like, I remember you came in, you're like, you think you're gonna be able to go in the morning? And I'm like, I'll try. I'm gonna try. And I woke up the next morning. You're like, you want to go? And I was like, nope.
No.
Threw the keys again. Just kept going to the bathroom. Yep. Didn't drink any. Couldn't drink anything. Couldn't eat anything. At one point, you brought me a burger and fries, and I ate 4 fries. And I tried to bite into the burger, and I just put it back in the sack.
I said, how was the burger, Christian? He goes, looks pretty good.
It looked like fantastic to eat, and it smelled good, but couldn't eat it. So you went out. You ended up going out the second. So your second day, which would have been in day 4 of the actual trip, you went out, and what did you see that day?
So this was arguably my best day of hunting, actually. So I actually went into the public land that I scouted the night before. Glass, didn't see any deer, but there was no cars here or whatever. So I was like, let's give it a shot. And I think it was about 450 acres, and I didn't see any trucks on there. So I was like, let's go with it. I went in blindfolded, didn't know anything about it, and right away. So I seen these pines, and I kind of noticed how the land was laid out. It was a deep ridge right in the middle. It dropped down, and all around was just fields. And then pines all the way down. Like there was no other.
There were cedars,
pines. Yeah, cedars. My bad.
Yeah. They look like pines.
Same thing in my opinion. In Ohio.
Yeah, you're from Ohio. You got those.
Cedars. So thick as crap. So I found this one opening as I was walking down, and I dropped in onto like kind of this grass mound, and I was just sitting there. And I actually, right in front of me, 120 yards, there was 2 mule deer doe bedded down right there on the side, laying under those cedars in the shaded area. And they saw me, and they stood up right away, and we just had a staring match for like 20 minutes, and they didn't do anything. And I kind of like snuck behind the little hill or whatever, because I wanted to go above them and go around and see if I could sneak behind them. And so they kind of moseyed off into the back where the tall grass went, because it flattened out in the back. So I did that same thing, and I just worked around these cedars all the way around, probably quarter mile all the way around. And on the back side of it, it gets pretty hilly, the sand hills. So I got not on the very top of one of the sand hills, but just on the side of it, and I was sneaking around it, and I got up top to glass. And guys, this is a little tip for you guys. I've never been out, glassing, trying to spawn stock or anything, but I got on the side of this ridge or hill. I thought I was in the best spot, hidden as can be, everything. I sat there glass, and right away I seen a coyote running straight at me. And he was like 150 yards away, and he stops dead and looks right at me and just busts me right away. And in my head, I was thinking I was in the best spot ever, couldn't be seen, and this coyote seen me right away. So in my head, I was like, okay, if he can see me, this deer can see me. So I actually packed everything up, and I moved down. And
why could they see you? Like you were skylined?
So I think I was borderline skyline, because I was like these 2 ridges, 2 hills like went like this together, and I was like right in the middle of the side of them, and he was running right at me, and he just stopped and just stared at me, and I was pretty upset about that. But I think I was just sticking out, honestly, and my wind was good. It was blowing right in my face. But I don't know what these are, but there's like these little berries out there. You know what they're called.
Yeah, it's service berries.
Yeah, so these were everywhere, guys. And at first I didn't know what they were, anything, or if they were a food source at all. But I seen a patch of them, so I was walking along them, and I got probably 40 yards in it, and I was 20 yards, and I jumped a deer right away, jumped right in front of my face. And it was a white-tailed doe, and she probably got 30 yards from me. I drew just because I didn't know what it was right away. I got the full draw, and all I could see was the neck, and it was a doe. And honestly, I was gonna shoot. Not even gonna lie. If I could have seen the full body, I was probably just gonna shoot, just because how the trip had been going and everything. First out of state hunt, and I feel like it would be cool, kill a deer in Nebraska. But I let her go, and I started walking again, and I don't know, 30, 40 yards, right away, boom, jumped another doe right away. And I drawed on her again, full draw, 20 yards. All I could see was the neck and above. Because these berries, I mean, they're probably 4 or 5 foot. They're pretty tall. Like, they were up to here on me, walking through, and they're thick as can be. So imagine what it looks like on a deer. But after that, I don't even know where they went, because on the cedars or whatever, it drops down. Like on this edge, it drops straight down, probably about 20 foot. And I stuck on the behind because I was thinking they dropped into there. And once I dropped down into there, I didn't see him again. But cool thing was about how this land laid out is it dropped down, and it used to be an old river bottom. So at least that's what it said on Onyx. I had a waterway running right through it. So bunch of tall grass, CRP, tons of vegetation in this bottom. So I actually ended up moving all along the bottom the rest of the evening. I probably walked that about 3 miles all the way to the top. And once I got to the top, it was getting pretty dark. So I ended up walking back and going back home for that evening. And then do you want me to jump forward into the next morning?
Yeah, I did briefly want to talk about that spot. So this cut that in the sandhills, there's like these deep cuts, and they have like cedars in them, so there's really good bedding and vegetation down in them.
Yeah.
There was a lot of ag in that area. It's one of the things I talked about when I was talking about this on Wired to Hunt, was there was like we were saying, you saw that big buck on cut alfalfa. We saw some deer on that stuff the previous time when we were driving around. And then there was a lot of standing corn. So like these cuts, I'm sure that private land to the south of where you were hunting, I'm sure those deer were working up and down, going to that alfalfa on the private. So I think you getting on top of it, working either side of it with the right wind, you were probably just catching them going to and fro and to and fro. But yeah, that was your day 4. Came home. Hey, we're gonna hunt in the morning. Nope. I'm still sick. Still feel terrible. I got by day 3 of me laying in bed, got really dehydrated. Did not have a single vein in my arm. And at this point, I'm like, I need to go to the freaking hospital. I look up urgent cares, not an urgent care. There's not a hospital within like an hour of there. So I'm like, awesome. Sounds great. So, anyways, you go out day 5.
So I didn't go out that morning at all, actually. So I went out that evening, because that's when so I went out that evening. So I went to the same public spot again, because I was like, I seen all these deer. Why wouldn't I go? So I went out there, and immediately I got into the backside because the wind was blowing straight towards the back. So I wanted to get in behind, so that way I could glass all that bottom and they not be spooked at all. So I went on the backside, and I got up top, and I was glassing, nothing. So that was about 6:30. So the first spot I didn't see anything. And then after that, I walked about a mile to the backside. I could see the parking lot. I could see my car from this spot. It was only about 300 yards off from where the parking lot is. So I climbed up on top, and I was sitting next to this fallen down pine or cedar, and I was glassing, and just right before dark, about 15 minutes before dark, 2 muley deer bucks came out, and they were feeding on the side of the sandhill, working their way up. Full velvet, would have got shot for sure. They're about 100, like I said, about 150 yards, working their way further away. And like I said, 10 minutes before dark. And in my head, I didn't really want to put on a stalk or anything, because I didn't want to spook them. And I still had one more full day to hunt. And the way that they were moving, there was no cover. I mean, absolutely nothing. I mean, there's a lot of tall grass out there, but for some reason where they were going towards, it just kind of was no tall grass right there. So I figured it would be best just pack up for the night, watch them, get some cool video, and then come back tomorrow and see if I can't get them off the bed. So that's what I did. I packed everything up and I came back to the motel. And Christian, you want to hunt? I even showed him.
Yeah.
This goes to show how sick he was, though. I even showed him videos of these bucks and everything, and he was like, "Dude, those are great." Like, but I'm too sick.
Well, that's what I've been using as the example to explain how sick I was. Imagine having 2 velvet mule deer bucks. You drove 15 hours, and your buddy says, "Hey, dude, they're 150 yards away," and you say, "Yeah, I can't hunt." That's how sick I was. Like, I was not even worried about a deer. I was like, my mom was texting me going mama bear mode, and she's like, "Well, I'll come get you if you want me to. I'll come get you." And I'm like, "I'm fine. It's whatever." Like, I drank like 50 ounces of water and like a little bit of Gatorade that day. And I was like, "Dude, I need to go to the hospital." And I was like, "I want you to still be able to hunt though. Like, I still want you to be able to hunt." Well, where we were in Nebraska wasn't like extremely far from my parents in Oklahoma. And I was like, "Come get me." I told my mom, I was like, if you want to come get me, come get me. And she's like, "Okay, I'm on my way." So you got to hunt day 6.
Yep.
My mom literally came and got me. She volunteered. Don't feel bad for her, folks. She told me. So she came and got me. And my intention was, I'm going to the hospital. Like, I woke up day 4, that sickness, and I was like, I'm going to go to the hospital and you can hunt. So I left you my keys, and you still went hunting that day.
Yep. So this would have been Friday then. Last day of the trip.
Friday or Saturday? No, Friday. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, Friday. So last day of the trip or whatever. So like we said, Christian packed up and left. I left before him though. So I left around 5 a.m. because I wanted to get out there like lick of dawn, or crack of dawn. And get out there before the sun was up so I could get same spot I was the night before and see if these deer got up off their feet again. And I went there, and of course they weren't there. And I glassed there for about an hour, 2 hours at that spot, and they weren't there. So I moved to the backside again, which I'd been seeing deer, the past 3 days. So I went back there, and as soon as I got on the backside, I seen 2 mule deer doe again. And I sat there watching them doing their thing. And I also seen 2 whitetail doe far behind me, probably about 300 yards away, 400 yards away, just doing their thing in the field. And by that time, I'd been glassing for probably about 2 hours. So it was about 10 o'clock then. And after those mule deer doe went back to bed, I moved down to the ridge again, and I didn't see anything again. So I think it was about 11 o'clock then, and I had like an 8-hour drive. So I decided it's just been best to pack everything up and hit the road to Oklahoma and go get Christian's sick boy.
Yeah. That's sometimes how the cookie crumbles. I mean, so how many deer did you see in total on public land while you were hunting?
I seen about 12.
Okay, so double digits. So you got to hunt 3 or 4 days solo. We didn't see a single deer on public when I was hunting. And then you got to hunt 3 or 4 days solo, saw 12 deer, a good mix. Too. Yeah, a good mix of muley, a good mix of whitetail. Mm. How was your first out of state hunt compared to your expectations besides me getting sick? I mean, you can basically act like I wasn't even there.
It was fun. It was very, very fun. It was completely different, guys, because I'm used to like saddle. I hunt out of saddle. I hunt over ag fields. I hunt in big timber.
Corn piles. Come on,
yeah, come on now. Corn. I do throw a lot of corn out there, about 400 pounds. But besides that, like I've never really hunted public land too, to be quite honest with you. And Ohio, guys, there's a lot of deer. I'm not even gonna lie. So I'm used to seeing a ton of deer. Numbers are high. So going out to a place where the numbers are low and nobody was seeing deer. I mean, there's other people in public land we had talked to a little bit that they weren't seeing too many deer either. I mean, it was a whole new ball game. I've never been spotted and stalking before. I've never used the binos that much. I've never walked that much. So it was a whole new experience, but it was everything that I expected it to be besides Christian being sick. And I loved it. I really did. I mean, it was a blast. The scenery was amazing. I mean, the amount of dove you got to saw out there was crazy. I mean,
you were getting like You're getting a stiffy for the dove out there.
Oh my goodness, I love dove hunting, guys, and there's none here. So I was seeing a ton of dove out there, a good amount of deer too, and it was just a completely different, country. And so it was just absolutely beautiful out there and absolutely amazing. And thank you, Christian, for taking me too.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to say I had a good time. I had a good time for the first 36 hours of the trip. It was fun. Nebraska season, I think, goes all the way till end of December. So depending on what happens, I'd love to get back out to Nebraska. There are deer to be killed. Are there many mule deer to be killed? No. Are there some whitetail to be killed? Yeah, absolutely there are. So I think people know there's good deer in Nebraska. There's no secret about that. So I would love to go back to Nebraska and get on one again. I mean, the second that I felt better, I was like, man, I wish I could get back in the car and go back. Yeah. But it was God did not have that in my plans this time.
And I mean, to be honest, too, I feel like we were talking. It was really good that I went out and did what I did because I put a ton of pins down. We know where deer are now too. I mean, that's half the battle is knowing where the deer are in public land out of state. You're kind of going in blindfolded, not even knowing if there's going to be deer there. And the fact that we got on deer, we know where to go now. That's a huge advantage already. So that's something we didn't have before.
Well, and it's a good point. It's an iterative process. Like you go the first time, you get your teeth kicked in, but you get a little bit of intel. You go the second time, you get beat, but you get a little bit of intel. Third time, you get beat. You back the fourth time, and you're like, they better do not do anything resembling what they've done before. I've got them. Mm-hmm. Like you put the pieces together. It's hard to put the pieces together when it's 12 plus hours away, but when you spend 4, 5, 6 days hunting, I'm glad you still got to go out because you got to go put some of those pieces together. Did we know we were in a good area? Yeah. From driving the rounds, you can decide if you're in a good area, but you got to put kind of the more specific stuff together. And that's a good thing about going and hunting with multiple people is you can look at different things. If one guy goes down, you still can hunt, you still can get intel. So I feel like it was still a good trip, a good learning experience.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, it's an eye-opener coming back here to hunt, 16 days from our opener. And I'm never going to complain about another walk again or anything, or not seeing deer, mind you.
Yeah. It's not the Midwest.
No, it's not. But I mean, I would love to get back out there though. I mean, I kind of already miss it because I mean, once you leave right away, you're thinking about it again, kind of been like, what can I do this time that I didn't do last time? And you're just putting the puzzle together, like you said, because eventually might not be this year, but maybe next year or something like that, you can get one on the ground, which is what it's, all about.
Yeah, that's for sure. I've been to Nebraska twice now. I went once like a late season muzzleloader, and then I went this one where I got to hunt like one day, but I've got a bone to pick with Nebraska. They're on my crap list, and I'm gonna stay mad at a deer in Nebraska. I still want to kill a mule deer on public land with a bow. I think it's possible, and maybe we'll be able to do it sometime. But I'd love to tell you guys a 40-minute story about me having food poisoning, and that's basically what I did. But that's all I got on Nebraska. It was fun. I learned a lot. Spot and stock, glassing. I enjoy that kind of hunting. I think it's very different. I think people should do it. They should try it. Especially a lot of you Midwestern folks. Gabe was shooketh with the style, but no, it was a really good time. I'm glad we got to do it. And I hope to do it again.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we got actual deer season coming up.
I'm ready.
The velvet's coming off. Are you ready for whitetail season?
Oh, the velvet's making me a little sad. Yeah, I'm ready. I put in more work this year than I ever have, honestly, and I got some decent deer that I have, so we'll see if I can get on them this year. I'm very excited. I'm not even gonna lie, guys. Don't even get me started with it because I'll stay here for 30 minutes talking about whitetail. It's gonna be a great year, though. That's for sure. Lots in store.
I hope so. I've heard it's been so hot across maybe not the Midwest this fall, but just the South that I've heard of people having some of the worst trail cam years they've ever had. And we've had good trail cam pics for like a little bit, and then we'll have none for like 8 days. And then we'll have decent ones for a day, and then we'll have none for 8 days. And I chalk a lot of that up to like the movement and just the temperatures. We have more 100-degree days than I can ever remember.
That's crazy.
And it's been a tough summer in that regard, but I think there's good bucks to be had. You definitely have some good bucks to be had. If you had to give, let's say you come back on the podcast at the end of the fall, if you had to give the HA community one prediction for the fall, what are you going to end up doing with your bow this fall? Which buck are you going to shoot? How's it going to happen? If you had to guess.
If I had to guess, I'm going to kill Paps. Should I show a little? Well, they won't see it. It's gonna be
you can just tell them.
So Paps, I got this deer. He's a probably mainframe 40s, 50s, 10-pointers, but he's got like 10, 15 inches of junk. He's got like this cool double mean that splits coming off his front. So it's the biggest deer that I've ever seen. And the reason I call him Paps is because my papa that got me into this is the biggest deer I've seen since he passed away. So that's kind of why I've just named it Paps. And it's on my papa's farm too, which is kind of the cool thing. I'm predicting to kill him October 24th on an east wind on a 38-degree morning, and I'm going to be sitting in my saddle, and I'm going to shoot him at 24 yards.
I like all those things.
That's what I'm going to be. That's what I'm going to be hit. Because it's clockwork, guys. East wind, he's coming in. And that's another thing. Quick tip: always pay attention to the east wind because it's not a very common wind, and it really gets bucks on their feet, and they don't really know how to act sometimes. So definitely pay attention for your east winds, and make sure you have a couple of stands set up for an east wind. I promise you'll thank me later.
There you go. Well, if people want to keep up with you for what you're doing with filming and all that sort of stuff, where's the best place to follow you and keep up with you? So
TikTok and Instagram, guys. You guys can follow me at Midwest Pursuit, Midwest_Pursuit 05. And then on YouTube, I haven't really posted much, but I'm going to. I've posted a couple of reels, but that's GT_hunts. And yeah, that's the social medias, guys. And if you guys want to add me on Snapchat, hold on, give me 2 seconds. I'll tell you my snap.
We don't have any 16-year-old girls on here. So
I have had 6 people add me from your podcast.
Really?
Yeah, actually, one of them is a good buddy that I actually went and met just because of your podcast. I did not know he was even in existence.
And he's from Ohio?
He's 40 minutes from me.
Dude, frick yeah.
He's going to be watching this too. I'll shout him out. Hunter Simons.
Oh, heck yeah. That's awesome. Anyways.
My Snapchat is gfoley2431. So if you guys want to get on there, I post some cool things on there sometimes too.
Yeah, if you're 18-year-olds and above and you're a brunette woman,
blonde.
Blonde. Sorry. Okay, yes, never mind. Blonde. Yeah, this guy's shallow, so don't do it, ladies. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, so everybody go check out Gabe's stuff, whether it's on YouTube or any of their socials. And make sure to leave us a rating and review if you enjoyed the episode. This was just about Muley and whitetail in Nebraska. A little bit out of the comfort zone, but hey, keep getting stretched, keep learning, keep growing, and keep enjoying it. Hopefully we'll get up to Nebraska one more time this year and hopefully put something on the ground. But thanks for checking us out, guys, and we'll catch you guys in the next episode.
See you guys. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for checking out the Hunter's Advantage podcast. If you enjoyed the episode, make sure to leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcast, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to the podcast. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you in the next episode.